Hawks win 5-4 in overtime that they should not have gone into over the Detroit Red Wings. Last night, the Hawks and Wings faced off for the second time in just under 2 weeks. And I was actually kind of ticked off with how the Hawks were playing last night. They won the game. They gained a playoff spot for only 15 minutes. Yes, Colorado won 7-1 over the frickin' Winnipeg Jets to give them the last wild card spot, which is a complete joke of Winnipeg to do. We needed the Jets to win, and they did not show up to play as it showed. But the Hawks got a win, even though they played probably their worst game in a long time. They shouldn't have, in my opinion, they should not have won this game. That's how bad they were playing in the last period of play. Hockey games are 60 minutes, not 40. That's what the Hawks were thinking the game was. The defense was terrible, and they just did not show up to play at all. I was kind of livid on how the team was playing. So I'm going to talk about the shots on goal to show you how the Hawks did not show up to play. If you saw my live stream, you could see my complaint when it hit the third period, why I was kind of getting mad at the Hawks. In the first period, the shots were in favor to Detroit, 15-7. In the second period, it was tied 5-5 on shots on net. That period was more defensively played. Third period, this is where I was really getting livid. 12-5 in advantage to Detroit. Overtime, 3-3, but you know the Hawks got the win in overtime. And total shots on net, it was 35 for Detroit, 20 for the Blackhawks. The defense was terrible last night. And they just did not want to, it looked like they did not want to win this game in the last period of play. Hockey teams should not sit back and play and let a team try to make a comeback in a third period if you have a sizable lead. Hawks had a 3-goal lead over Detroit going into the third period, and that's when they blew it. So, let's get into the goals of the game. Before I go on more ranting, I might start again after the third period talk, where you will see. In the first period, a minute and 39 into the game, scored by number 15, Artem Anisimov, his 10th goal of the season. It was unassisted to give the Hawks an early lead over Detroit 1-0. But to tie the game at 6:37 in the first period, scored by Dylan Larkin, his 25th of the season, first of the night, assisted by Anthony Mantha, a player you'll hear a lot of in this, and Horkneck, to make it 1-1 at 5 into the game, basically. Well, 6 into the game. But 6 minutes later, at 12:04 in the first period, scored by number 20, his 21st of the season, Brandon Saad, assisted by number 95, Dylan Sekera, and number 30, your goalie, Cam Warg, to give the Hawks a 2-1 lead over Detroit. And the scoring was not over yet. At 16:51 in the first period, to give the final goal of the first period by number 12, his 33rd of the season, Alex DeBrincat, assisted by Dylan Strome and Eric Gustafson, to give a Hawks lead of 3-1 over Detroit. Good for the Hawks. And into the second period we go. Only one goal was scored, and it was from your Chicago Blackhawks. At 1:17 in the second period, scored by number 88, his first of the game, 37th of the season, Patrick Kane, assisted by Eric Gustafson to give the Hawks a 3-goal lead, making it 4-1. And we now go to the third period, and this is where I was getting mad so here we go. At 4 minutes and 19 seconds into the third period, scored by Detroit, Dylan Larkin, his second of the game, 26th of the season, assisted by Daly and Mantha. When I saw this goal go in, I knew the Hawks were going to try blowing it, because they were not playing, they were playing flat-footed and weren't skating. And you could see it throughout the entire period. And less than a minute later, basically a minute later, 5:23 in the third period, scored by Detroit's Andreas Athanasiou, his first of the game, 21st of the season, assisted by Mantha and Larkin. I told you will hear Mantha a lot in this review, because he had a 4-point game, all assists, and that was on a power play. So the Hawks were still sitting back, and it showed. At 18:34 in the third period, scored from Detroit, Andreas Athanasiou, his second of the game, 22nd of the season, assisted by Mantha and Green to make it 4-4, and we have to go to an overtime. This third period was garbage hockey by the Blackhawks. That may have been the worst third period since a game in Calgary this year. The Hawks had no effort in that period. That's how bad of a play they were. I don't like how Colleton sets his team up as a aggressive defense. That's why the Hawks have the worst defense in the NHL. If they don't play aggressive, you should be fine. That's why aggressive defenses do not work in the NHL. So let's go to the overtime. At 2:42 in the overtime, to get the GWG in OT, scored by number 88, Patrick Kane, his second of the night and 38th of the season, assisted by number 56, Eric Gustafson, and number 19, your captain, Jonathan Toews, to end the game 5-4 for the Blackhawks. Thank God the Hawks got the extra point in the overtime to get the 2 points on the standings. But we still are now in a battle and a tie for last wild card with our next opponent, the Colorado Avalanche. Because Winnipeg did not want to play hockey. So if you want to watch games today, since I'm filming this video the day after the game, I'm going to tell you some games to scoreboard watch, because we have to, frankly, at this point of the season. The New York Rangers we're going to have win, because they play the Minnesota Wild, who we demoted down to last place in the Central Division, and they're basically a point behind us. Unfortunately, we need St. Louis to actually win, because they play Dallas, who Dallas is 3 points ahead of the Hawks in the standings. And there's a game that really did not need to happen. The Arizona Coyotes and Vancouver Canucks play each other. Looking in the standings, Don't want any of them to win, but I guess we'll have to take Vancouver to win that game. Because Coyotes, if they win, they pass us in the standings. If Vancouver wins, they stay behind us in the standings. Oh, those are the matchups we really need to watch out for. Keep us eye on those scores for today. But this was a terrible game played by the Chicago Blackhawks. They should not have won that hockey game. That was how bad of a team they were last night. The defense was terrible. Yeah, if you saw my live stream, you would have saw how red my face was in the third period because I was getting livid on how the Blackhawks were playing. But it was one of those games. We got the 2 points, and we shouldn't have. We stole, in my opinion, Cam Ward actually played that good of a hockey game to keep the Hawks ahead because the defense did nothing. And the offense as well. Only 20 shots in a game, that's not acceptable. Hawks need to step it up if they want to make the playoffs. They're tied for the last wild card. They need to step up their play. So, leave your comment down below what your takes are from last night's hockey game, because that's what I feel like the Hawks need to do. Fix their aggressive defense and go to more of a stand put, shut down D. If they do that, they should be fine. But they aren't. Colleton likes this aggressive format. But thank you for watching the broadcast. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I know you enjoyed the outcome. Hawks win 5-4 in overtime over the Detroit Red Wings. And most of all, let's go Hawks.